All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and you guys are going to be able to see all of the cool things about FlipGrid. All right, so I did give you guys resources, and the resources are here on this short link. And what I just tried to do for you guys was share, and I'm going to chat them into the chat. And so if you want to grab them out of the chat, you can do that.
It was like cash and
I am going to really quickly mute everybody because please mute yourselves if you aren't muted, just so we can keep it together. So good morning, I am Julie Erickson. I'm a learning specialist at TIE, and one of the things that we're really trying to do to help with everybody getting to teach from home all of a sudden is provide you guys with some resources. So we've been doing Zoom webinars, we've been doing Google Classroom webinars, and this is our first FlipGrid webinar. And so I'm really excited to share this with you just because I love FlipGrid and there's so many cool things that you can do with it. So these are all some real basic links to just get you started. And I'm going to jump right into, let's see, what they've done for you guys with the remote learning with FlipGrid. And I have to say, I am so impressed. FlipGrid is free. It used to be when they started it, there was a free version and a paid version, and then Microsoft bought it a couple years ago, and it is now all free. And so there is no premium package or anything like that. So everything you want to do in FlipGrid, you can do. And the other cool thing about FlipGrid is if you say, oh, it'd be really cool if you could go back and edit videos or pause while you're recording, tell FlipGrid that, because they constantly upgrade FlipGrid and add what teachers are asking for. So it's super awesome. So they've given you this remote learning with FlipGrid, and this actually is a PDF. And so it is super easy to download and save if you want to. And I really love, they tell us that you can get started in 5 minutes and your students can started in 2. One of the things, if you have, your students can access directly on their computer. They can also download this to any device, iPhone, Android, and so you have options there. I have the app on my cell phone, on my iPad, and then I use it on the computer. So lots of different places. And the other really awesome thing about this is you can do it so many different ways to engage our K-12 and beyond. And so you can use this for reflections. I'm working with Mrs. Phillips right now and Tate, my senior. They're trying to come up with a way to do book discussions. And I have to tell you, I mean, I just think this is so cool. So Tate will miss class, but he'll be like, I don't want to miss AP Lit. And I'll be like, why? And he's like, well, I don't want to miss the discussions. I really like the discussions. And so we're really trying to bring that back in some sort of a viable way. And what's nice about FlipGrid is you can record and you can also comment on other people's recordings, and it doesn't have to be a real time. It can be asynchronous, which is awesome. So they also give us tons of resources. So that's kind of the background. I'm going to run us through a real quick webinar. Or not webinar, video. And so one of the things that they have done a really nice job on is they have a really quick getting started guide. And so we are going to watch this super short webinar together.
Head over to FlipGrid.com and create a free FlipGrid account with your Microsoft or Google email address. Once you've signed up, let's create your first grid. Your grid is your class. So I'll name mine 6th grade reading. Select a grid type. I'll select school email, which will allow my students to access the grid using their school email address. If you're teaching younger learners without emails, you can choose the student ID option. Students do not need to create an account. They will use this code to access the grid. You can personalize it, so I'm going to make mine Remote Reflection. Limit access to the grid by entering your school emails. Enter everything after the @ symbol. Add multiple emails for students and educators. Now that your grid is created, you'll see that we have automatically created a discussion prompt to help introduce FlipGrid to your learning community. Let's make a new discussion prompt. In FlipGrid, we call those topics. You can add links, videos, or anything you want your learners to view prior to recording a video response. Or hop on over to the Disco library where there are thousands of ready-to-use topic templates available. Now that you have created your topic, you are ready to share with your learner. Share the link or code with your learning community. This is how your students will access FlipGrid and start posting videos. For step-by-step student instructions and more resources to help you use FlipGrid, check out the links in the description below.
So quick webinar, or quick video there, and then here's one that we can share with our learners.
Join our class FlipGrid by entering the code from your teacher in the free iOS or Android app. Or enter the code at FlipGrid.com on any web browser. You'll be asked to log in with your school email address or student ID from your teacher. Now that you're in, let's tap that green plus to record a video. In FlipGrid, you can pause your video to record multiple segments, add filters, turn on whiteboard mode, and more. Once you're done, you can review and edit your video or record more. When you're ready to share, tap Next and take a selfie. This is the image that will appear on the grid. Click Submit to share your video to the grid, and that's it. Your video is on the grid.
So that's how easy it is to create a FlipGrid and interact. And I can think of all sorts of questions and concerns because I know we've heard a lot of them on, like, my kids aren't going to want to share their pictures. My kids aren't going to want to, you have options here. So this is my FlipGrid. And so when you log in and create your account, super easy. As they talked about, your grid is essentially your class. And so depending on what your structure is, if you have, 7 periods of a class, you would probably say, period 1, period 2, that type of thing. So I would make a grid for every class. If elementary wise, you could just make one grid and then be able to add various topics within that. So grid is a class. And adding a grid is very simple. The things that you need to name it. You also need to decide what kind of grid type. So school email is the easiest, obviously, and in South Dakota, most of our schools have the @K12. If you are using your own Google domain, like I know Red Cloud Schools uses their own Google domain, you can use that. If your students do not have an email, you can do a couple different things. The student ID is super easy to use, and I will show you how I did that for some grids we used last summer where we didn't, students did not have IDs. And then if you do public and PLC, there is no login necessarily to access, but what you do need is you will still need to have, then you will have to have a email address to get in. And so with your students, I would do the school email or the student ID. It automatically creates a flip code for you. You can customize it if you need to. So I'm going to go back up and make it be a school email. And okay, And so now my grid is ready to go. I can kick it off. They default do a intro topic. And so this say hello on FlipGrid will come up on everything that you do. You can add a co-pilot. So if you and a colleague want to collaborate on this, you can add a co-pilot. You can also go back in and edit your notifications. You also can come back and edit your grid if you want. And so like here, I now, here's my notifications. I can receive them daily. I can allow students to download and share. Captions, I can do auto-generated captions. I can turn on and off a grid, and so I can make it hidden if I want to. I can allow students to receive email notifications when new topics are created. Here's where I can personalize my files, my picture, and so I can add in anything that I want here. So you have a lot of options there to be able to do things. Yeah, you can add as many co-pilots as you want, and so you can just enter in their email address, and so you just need to know their FlipGrid educator email address. And so, like I've been working with a colleague on one, and I could add others too, but I've only added the one person so far. Okay, so now we're going to add a topic, and where do you come up with your topics? The disco library, as they call it, allows us to go out and find topics that are already created for us. And you can see there's a ton of featured ones, but then as we scroll on down, you can come here and look at by subject. And so I was looking for music. I have a lot of music teachers that are using FlipGrid. If I was looking for, so last week I was looking for language arts to try to see if I could figure out something for Tate. Language learning, some really awesome things with language learning because we can have discussions in the foreign language, and so you have options there. You can also limit by grade level, and so if I only want to see high school, I can go in and look at high school. And now we've limited it to language arts high school, and we can see what our options are. So here we have, Dead Poet Society. So I'm going to pop on that. And so it gives us, there's a YouTube clip embedded in this one. It gives us the description. It tells us there are no special tips here. And I can go in and I can say where I want it to be added, which one of my grids. And so I can add it. Now I can actually go in and edit it if I want to change the topic more. As I scroll on down, here's where I can add attachments. And so if I wanted to add a Google Doc that was a description of the assignment or an additional information, I can do that. This is where you have the control to moderate videos. And so if you want to, kind of test and see how it's going to go, you can moderate videos. So meaning you'll watch them before they're posted. You can make a topic active, frozen, or hidden. If it's frozen, you can see it, the students can see it, but they can't do anything with it. And so this would be, you're done with this discussion. You can freeze it so they can go back and refer to it, but they aren't going to be able to add more content. Student-to-student replies. Student-to-student replies allows a student to reply via video to another student. This is where you end up with the conversation. And so this is like if you're doing book discussions, if you're doing, something where you want to have those discussions, this is where you would want to put that in. And then you also have the power to launch and freeze. And so if you wanted to have it come on Monday and turn off on Friday, you can do that. The video features are where we get into the really fun stuff. And this is where it can be really distracting and or really cool, depending on how you look at it. So you have here the video and selfie styles. And what your option is students can add filters, stickers, drawing, and text to their videos and selfies. So you can say to both, to selfies only, to videos only, or to none of them. And so you have options for doing that. The video title, they have to add a title. They can add hashtags, view count, sticky notes while they're recording, video editing. And so this allows your students to rearrange. Attachments, they can include external links. And then likes, you can turn on and off likes to if you want to have students like other students' videos. Feedback, so this is for you. You can do basic feedback where you're going to provide basic feedback on ideas, performance, or we can go in and do custom feedback where we actually define a rubric and you can add the criteria in and use it that way. So I'm going to pop back over.
Bless you.
I'm going to say edit my topic or update my topic. So now this is live in my grid. I can at this point, I can record a response if I want. I can, you know, do lots of different things. So I'm going to pop us back over to my activity and show you a couple of other things that we've done. So we've done a number of like Adventures in Tech Camp was one of the ones we did last summer with the kids that came to Tech Camp. And you can see that this one was set up as a student ID. I set this one up as a student ID because the learners, I knew who the learners were, but they didn't have email addresses. And so if we pop in and edit this, then you can see how the student IDs are set up. In this situation, I did it with as teams. And so they were the red team. And so their first name was red, their last name was team, and their identifier was red. I could print a QR code for each learner. And what you can do is you can actually print that student list out. And you could then like email or share in Google Classroom that information to each individual learner. If you want to upload students for username and password, they do give you a really nice template that makes it really easy to do. And that is how I did ours for the kids camp. Was I just used the template and added them. I didn't type them in one at a time. I just took the list and added them in. So here it's first name, last name, student ID. So very simple if you wanted to if they are used to using a student ID same way. Okay, so I will quick show you a couple other things. So what did I click to get to the template? Okay, and can they use their school pin? Yes, yes, and yes. So to get to the template, I clicked. So I'm going to go back down. So if you've selected student ID, I clicked on Edit My Grid. And right here, there is where it says Update Your Student List. There's an example template to upload a CSV file. Or I can add students one by one. So if you forget a student or you get a new student added, you can add them one by one too. Okay. So what was okay. I've lost focus, you guys. Imagine. So I was going to quick show you a couple more things, and then we will I know what I was going to show you. So a couple more things that can really make things make using FlipGrid so interactive. You have the ability to do things like flip hunts. And so when let's see, where did I put this? So on the resources for today, I did give you guys the educator's guide, and this is a Google Doc that is updated every year. And so this is the 4th year that these educators have made this book. And it goes through kind of all of the steps that you would need and how to manage and how to innovate. And so gives you guys a lot of ideas. And so this is something that I take away and I refer to often just because it's a real quick guide. The other thing I wanted to bring up was using FlipGrid for flip hunts. So if you do, so when you use student IDs or templates, you would, so yes, when you set up your, let me pop back to the FlipGrid page here. When you set up your grid, is when you determine, so when you set up your class is when you determine how your students are going to access. And so if you set up 8 classes, you would need to set up 8 student ID situations if you were going to do that. If you, once you've set up your grid, you only need to do that once. And then you can go in and you can add topics which are within your grid, and you can add topics and they will default to your grid setup. And so if you said you wanted to use user IDs, that would be how they would access that topic. A couple of really fun things when you do create a topic. You can use GIFs, and they are so fun, you guys. I was going to show you the systems change FlipGrid. Come on, show me the systems change FlipGrid. It's spinning. And in here, so like we had all of these different really fun fun GIFs to pick from, and so it was really fun. Flip hunt is one of the things I really wanted to share with you guys because I think this could be super fun to engage our learners as we are out and about. And so a flip hunt is like a virtual scavenger hunt. And so to be able, so a lot of times, like I've used them a lot in conferences, which are really fun. And one of the things that we've done with them is like have people reflect. And so this could be something where you could do a virtual flip hunt on sharing with like what they're, you know, what they're reading right now, what's something they've watched on TV, what's, you know, some new music that they've discovered, or, you know, and just kind of like to build that community. A flip hunt could be a really, you know, as they go out and about, you know, did they go for a walk today? What did they see on their walk? You know, I mean, just you can do some really cool things to integrate across content areas and share that student voice with each other and have those conversations going. Okay, so let me see. I think that pretty much covers all of my info that I wanted to share with you guys. The other couple things are I did drop in a couple of ideas here. So you have digital exit ticket ideas. This is how a teacher uses that. There's back when FlipGrid launched, FlipGrid Fever is the, you know, like the big thing they call FlipGrid Fever. And people were doing some really great, you know, how can you use this? And so lots of different ideas for how can you use FlipGrid. Like, I love number talks, explaining their thinking, brainstorming the engineering design process. One of my, I worked with a group of kids. I worked with a group of kids a couple years ago, and one of the things they did was we had to we had to we were doing some reflection on how they
You already stopped it.
did let me see if I can figure out where they're at. We did some reflection on how the kids did their here we go, student reflection. Back in the day when it wasn't free, you had to you could only get one grid. And so I was working with a group of kids, and we ended up doing things with puppets. So the puppets talked, and then we also did things with they were explaining their thinking. So I'll quick show you. This is where they were doing their puppets.
This weekend I learned math and made it so my friend. What have you done this weekend? I learned how to help others when they are in need.
And so these two girls, it was an older girl and a younger girl, and
this weekend I learned math and made it so my friend. What have you done this weekend? I learned how to help others when they are in need.
So what these two girls did is they made the puppets, and that was what they recorded talking. Planning that was about 2 seconds in the sense of it was like, you know, here's your question, how are you going to answer it? And they did a fabulous job. So then we came back around, and they were doing some other design challenges.
Sometimes they get stuck.
This one was a little bit harder to catch because it was super fast. And then this last one, so that was the girls' second one. Here's their third one that they did.
This is our paper towel. We use paper right here to hold it together so that it stays standing instead of just falling over. Then we put paper between each one so that they wouldn't fall from each other.
And so that one was one of my favorites because it showed how quickly in the course of an afternoon they went from, kind of, oh, I don't really know how I want to use this, to really being excited, to talking about how they solved a problem and visually showing that. You can switch the camera front to back, and so that's a really awesome feature because you don't have to have it on your face. And a lot of times teachers will find that, the kids really don't want it to be on their face. Then that is something that they don't like at all. One of the things that I shared, I'm trying to think, I'm doing too much sharing, you guys. Pull this up. Yes, you can set up how many videos they record. Great question. Thank you, guys. So when I'm going to go back to my grid, and I'm going to pop over and grab the new grid that I'm doing, I have the ability to edit the grid, and I can limit
Go outside.
I know, just a little bit. We have to wait a little bit.
Limit how long student replies are. And so right here at the very top where it's, our title, I can make it be anything from 15 seconds to 5 minutes. I am not a video person, and so a minute 30 is plenty long. But I mean, depending on what you want them to do, you can gather up to 5 minutes worth of video. And it does really help now that they are allowing us to edit videos, because now it used to be you would say, oh my gosh, this is really great and I love it, and then oh, now, you know, somebody walked through and I have to redo it. So kind of annoying. So here's a couple ideas that I've shared out this week with some colleagues. Here's using FlipGrid for book clubs. And you do not need to use your picture. They use ChatterPix to share the author's purpose on this one, so they're not in the picture. And she actually makes little videos of how she's sharing the book club discussion. So that's a really cool option. And the other one that I wanted to show you guys is how to make a flip hunt.
You're right. It's more than 10 hours to the test, but when we
Oh, Shelly says she has a YARP book club on FlipGrid. Do they like it? Do they use it? Shelly, you can talk to me.
it would have been a lot cheaper to put them at the school bus waiting.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so they have begun using it now that we're not in school. I have one sixth grader who is, I think, going to be an actor. And he really likes recording himself, so it's been fun. So I'm hoping to get him more involved, but the one has really latched onto it.
Good. That's good. And that's, you know, it's just another way to get the, you know, that student voice out there. And so here's the flip hunt, and the creator of the flip hunt is Kathy Kay, and like I said, they are a really fun thing to do as you are, especially, I mean, they're fun to do together, but they're also fun to be able to, you know, do that scavenger hunt and then come back around and be able to comment on everybody else's and see that. So they give us she gives you some ideas, she gives you some templates. She, you know, sets video response length on a flip hunt to 30 seconds. And there is a flip hunt grid that you can get ideas from. So flip hunts are another really
Nope. Nope.
so anywho, so that is pretty much using FlipGrid in a nutshell to be able to get student voice without being in class, and to have that conversation. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask, and then otherwise we will wrap up for the time. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for coming. All right. I will stick around after people leave just to answer any other questions. So thank you guys so much. I hope you use FlipGrid, and I'm excited to hear back from you. So yes, I'm going to post the recording on the Facebook page so everybody can see it. Yes, there's a recording. I will post it on the Facebook page. Awesome. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and then I'll answer anybody else's questions.